The hum of Lyra Station was constant, like the steady breath of a giant creature. Ships came and went from every direction. Humans, aliens, and machines moved in streams through bright metal corridors. To Ethan Cole, a maintenance worker from Earth, this was all still new. He had been on the station for only 3 months. Every day he discovered some strange new smell, some unusual food, or a creature with a form he had never seen before. Today his job was simple: clean Docking Bay 7 after a diplomatic summit. It was late and most crews had gone home. Ethan liked working alone. There were no supervisors to watch him and no diplomats to step over. Only the sound of his cleaning bot rolling behind him, and the soft hiss of his spray bottle filled with a gentle cleaning solvent approved for most metals. He whistled while wiping down a large table. The summit had been between 3 species: the silver-skinned Caltherans, the insectoid Vrix, and a small Earth delegation. He had glimpsed the Caltherans earlier, tall, graceful, covered in a faint sheen like living mercury. They had moved like dancers, their eyes glowing faint blue. He had felt both awe and nervousness. When he reached the back of the docking bay, he noticed a side door open. A small cargo room lay behind it. Inside, on a low pedestal, rested a suit of armor. It was unlike anything he had seen. Black plates with silver lines curled like vines, the surface dulled by scratches and smears. The helmet had a tall ridge shaped like a crest. Ethan frowned. Someone must have left it behind. His job was to clean, and armor counted as equipment, didn't it? He glanced around. No one was near. He stepped inside and crouched down. The armor smelled faintly of ozone and flowers. Up close, he saw tiny runes engraved along the edges of each plate. He tapped his comm. Control? Bay 7. Found some kind of armor left behind in the cargo room. Should I move it? Static. No answer. The station sometimes had signal dead spots. Ethan sighed. Guess I'll at least wipe it down. He took out a soft cloth and sprayed a small mist of cleaner. The liquid shone blue as it touched the black surface. He rubbed carefully. The dullness disappeared under his hand. The armor gleamed like night glass. Piece by piece, he polished it: chest plate, shoulder guards, helmet. Each touch brought out another hidden symbol. He was fascinated. It was like uncovering a hidden painting. The cleaning bot beeped behind him, scanning the room but saying nothing. As he worked, he imagined the warrior who wore this. Maybe a captain, maybe a hero, he smiled. Well, whoever you are, your armor deserves respect, he whispered. After an hour, the armor looked new. The silver lines glowed faintly now, reflecting the station's overhead lights. Ethan stepped back, admiring his work. At that moment, a hiss of doors opening came from behind him. He turned. A tall figure entered. It was a Caltheran female. Her silver skin caught the light like flowing metal. She wore a dark cloak with sharp geometric patterns. Her eyes glowed bright blue. She froze when she saw him. Her gaze darted to the armor. The glow in her eyes flickered like a pulse. Ethan straightened, holding the cloth. Oh, hi, sorry, I was just... She stepped forward quickly, her voice a low melody mixed with static. Do you know what you were doing? Ethan blinked. Cleaning? She stopped a meter away. Her cloak shifted, revealing an insignia on her arm, a silver triangle with a burning star inside. Her hands trembled slightly. That armor, she said slowly, is not for your touch. Ethan's throat went dry. I didn't mean any harm. It was dirty. You thought? Her voice rose like a chime of glass. You have polished the relic of Kathira's line. Only the Keeper of the Right may clean it after battle. He swallowed. I didn't know. I'm just a maintenance tech. The Caltheran's eyes narrowed. Then she looked more closely at the armor. Her expression changed from anger to something like shock. It is perfect, she whispered. Even our own do not polish the lines so true. Ethan took a small step back. I can stop. I'll put everything back. She reached out a hand. For a moment he thought she would strike him. But instead she touched the armor lightly. Her silver fingers hovered over the chest plate. The oath of comradeship, she murmured in her own language, then in English. You have invoked it. I've what? She finally looked at him again. Her expression was unreadable, like a mask. Do you know what you have done? Ethan shook his head. No, I just wanted it clean. She exhaled, a sound like a hiss mixed with a hum. Come with me now. He hesitated. Am I in trouble? Worse, you are in honor. She pressed a small device on her wrist. The doors behind them sealed. A faint blue field shimmered around the room. Ethan's heart began to pound. The alien gestured to him. I am Kathira. This armor is mine. By your act, you have stepped into my clan's deepest vow. If others learn before I explain, you may not survive their reaction. Come. Ethan swallowed hard but followed her. She led him out a hidden exit away from the public corridor. They entered a narrow tunnel lit by green crystals. Listen carefully, she said as they walked. Among my people, armor is the soul of the warrior. It is not cleaned but reborn after each battle. Only one chosen person, the keeper, may do this. When another does, it is a declaration of kinship beyond blood, a pledge to share life and death. I didn't pledge anything, Ethan said, his voice shaky. Intent does not matter, Kathira replied. The rite is older than intent. It is binding. They reached a small private chamber. The walls were covered with banners of deep blue and silver. She motioned for him to sit. Ethan's hands trembled. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break your rules. Kathira looked at him for a long time. Perhaps you did not break them. Perhaps you changed them. What do you mean? Humans, she said slowly, as if tasting the word. Your people are young in the stars. You do not fear what others fear. You act without knowing, yet you show respect in your own way. That may be why the oath accepted you. Ethan tried to understand. So what happens now? Kathira's eyes glowed brighter. Now you learn what it means to be a comrade of my clan. Now you stand where no human has stood. And now you must decide if you will honor the bond or run from it. He stared at her. The room felt small. The hum of the station faded. All he could hear was his own heartbeat and the soft hiss of her breathing. I'm just a maintenance guy, he said finally. You were, Kathira said. But the armor does not lie. Silence filled the room. Ethan's mind spun. A few hours ago he had been scrubbing floors. Now he was apparently bound to an alien warrior by some ancient tradition. He looked at Kathira. Her face was strong but not cruel. There was curiosity there, maybe even a hint of admiration. Okay, he said softly. Tell me what I need to know. Kathira inclined her head, a gesture of respect. Good, you learn quickly. That may save both of us. The station's hum returned. Somewhere far above, ships came and went. But here, in this quiet chamber, a human and an alien sat facing each other, bound by a mistake that might change the stars. And as Kathira began to explain the ancient vow, Ethan realized his life would never be the same again. The room was quiet except for the low hum of Lyra Station's life support system. Ethan sat on a small silver bench, hands clasped tightly. Across from him, Kathira moved with slow, measured steps like a predator circling a decision. The banners on the wall fluttered slightly in the artificial breeze. Ethan tried to steady his breathing. He still could not believe what had happened. Only an hour ago he had been cleaning armor. Now, according to Kathira, he was caught inside a sacred Kalthiran ritual. Kathira finally stopped pacing, her glowing blue eyes fixed on him. Listen carefully, human, she said. If the council learns before I explain, they will see your act as trespass. Some may call for your punishment. Others may demand your inclusion into our war oath. Both are dangerous for you. Ethan rubbed his forehead. I don't understand. I didn't mean to do anything. I just cleaned your armor because it was dirty. Kathira tilted her head, silver hair-like strands falling across her shoulders. Intent does not matter. The rite is old, older than our memory. You touched my soul plate. You polished its lines. You invoked the bond. He blinked. So, and what does the bond actually mean? Kathira crossed the room to a tall cabinet. She opened it and removed a small crystalline disc which projected a glowing image into the air. Ethan saw a Kalthiran warrior kneeling beside another, cleaning armor while chanting in a strange, melodic language. Around them stood many others, watching in silence. This, Kathira said, is the oath of comradeship. It began as a ritual after battle. The keeper cleans the armor of the warrior, and the warrior trusts the keeper with her life. No one outside the clan may do this, but when it happens, it is seen as a declaration. I will stand with you to the death. It is more binding than blood. Ethan stared at the image. The glowing figures looked solemn, almost holy. I didn't know. Kathira turned off the disc. No human has ever known. Until now, the door hissed softly. Another Kalthiran entered, tall, wearing a pale blue robe with the council insignia. His eyes glowed a deeper blue than Kathira's. He stopped when he saw Ethan. Kathira moved quickly. placing herself between Ethan and the newcomer. "Counselor Varun," she said smoothly. "This human is under my protection. The matter is private." Varun raised an eyebrow ridge. "Private?" I sensed the binding energy from across the hall. "What have you done?" His eyes flicked to Ethan with curiosity and suspicion. Ethan stood awkwardly. The morning light of Lyra Station filtered through the tall windows, casting long silver beams across Kathira's quarters. Ethan sat at a low table, staring at a small tray of unfamiliar food. It was soft, gel-like, with a subtle aroma that reminded him of earth fruits but not quite the same. Kathira entered, her movements smooth and deliberate. She carried a data pad, scrolling through information with her glowing fingers. Her eyes briefly flicked to Ethan. "Eat," she said. "You will need strength for what comes next." Ethan picked up the gel carefully. "It looks edible," he said. He took a small bite. Surprisingly, it was sweet, almost like honey with a faint metallic tang. He chewed slowly, realizing he was hungry for more. Kathira sat across from him. "Before you eat more, you must understand the significance of the oath you triggered. The armor is not only a symbol. It carries memories, victories, failures, and sometimes the weight of entire battles." Ethan listened intently, his fingers tracing the edge of the cup in front of him. "So, by touching it, I shared all that?" "Yes," Kathira said. "The armor responded to your hands. It sensed your intent, your honesty. Humans are unpredictable, and yet, sometimes purity in your actions can outweigh experience. That is why it accepted you." Ethan swallowed hard. "So I didn't make a mistake?" Kathira tilted her head. "Perhaps. Perhaps not. In your culture, mistakes can be corrected. In ours, the oath cannot be undone. But your willingness to learn matters more than your intent." He nodded slowly. His mind raced. This was beyond anything he had learned in training manuals or history books. Here in front of him was a living, breathing example of an alien culture centuries older than Earth's. Kathira stood and walked to a shelf filled with small holographic crystals. She lifted one and a 3D image of a battlefield appeared. Warriors clashed, their armor shining in the alien sun. Among them, Kathira pointed to a single figure. "This was my great-grandmother. She wore armor like mine. She survived many battles because she trusted her keeper. That trust was never given lightly." Ethan leaned closer. "So the keeper is someone who takes care of the warrior?" "Yes, but not just care. You share responsibility. Life, death, honor, shame, all are shared. The keeper must act in danger, make decisions, and protect the warrior even if the warrior does not command it." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. He had never faced real danger. The closest he had been to risk was a high-voltage panel he had repaired last week, and now he was being told he might need to act for an alien warrior in battle. Kathira saw the hesitation. "Do not fear, that is natural. But you are not alone. I will guide you. You will learn. And perhaps in time you will see humans differently, as more than weak creatures." Ethan blinked. "You already do?" Kathira's lips curved slightly, but she did not answer directly. Instead, she motioned for him to follow her. They moved to a training room, a long hall lined with holographic projectors. A soft blue light filled the space. "This," she said, "is where you will begin your understanding. First lesson, observation." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Observation?" Kathira tapped a control panel. The holographic floor lit up, showing a battlefield from her ancestors' wars. Figures moved in formation, clashing and retreating. "Watch, notice everything. The way they move, the space between them, their responses to danger. These patterns tell stories humans might overlook." Ethan studied carefully. The alien warriors moved with a fluid grace, anticipating each other's movements. Even in holographic form, their coordination impressed him. He noticed subtle gestures, a tilt of the head, a quick hand movement, that indicated orders or warnings. Kathira observed him silently. "Good. You notice more than most of our trainees. Humans often rely on instinct, but sometimes instinct sees patterns that experience misses." Ethan smiled nervously. "I guess cleaning the armor helped with that." Kathira raised an eyebrow. "Perhaps. But now you must learn to act, not just notice." She activated another projector. A simulation of a small ship under attack appeared. Alien soldiers moved to defend it. Ethan watched as Kathira directed the holographic warriors, making adjustments with precise gestures. "Your turn," she said. "Make decisions. Protect the commander. Ethan hesitated, then gestured toward a squad of holographic warriors. Flank from the left. Cover the rear. Move the small unit to protect the bridge. The simulation adjusted instantly. The squad followed his commands, successfully defending the ship. Kathira's eyes widened slightly. You think differently. Unconventional yet effective. Humans are underestimated. Ethan grinned, feeling a rush of pride. I'm helping? Kathira nodded. You are learning. That is more than most can do. The day passed quickly. Kathira taught him gestures, signs of respect, and ways to communicate silently with her warriors. She explained how small actions like touching armor or bowing at the right moment carried deep meaning. During a break, Ethan asked, Kathira, why me? Why accept a human into this sacred ritual? She looked at him thoughtfully. Because humans are different. You act without fear, without arrogance. You make mistakes, yet you are honest. That is a rare combination. The oath recognized that. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. It was not pride exactly, but a sense of belonging. He had never felt this way on Earth. Never felt that his small actions could mean something to someone else, or to an entire people. Do you trust me? He asked cautiously. Kathira's eyes softened. I do not fully understand your species yet, but I see you try. That is enough to begin. That night, Ethan returned to his small quarters. He could hear the station's hum, the soft footsteps of passing workers, the distant chatter of alien languages. He thought about what Kathira had said. He might be part of something bigger than himself, something that could change relations between worlds. He looked at his hands. They were still faintly scented from the armor polish, a reminder of the accidental act that had started all this. He whispered to himself, I can do this. I want to understand. I want to help. The next morning, Kathira met him again. Today you will meet others, my warriors. They must see you as part of the bond, not as a threat. Your actions will define their trust in humans. Ethan swallowed hard. Other warriors? What if they don't accept me? They will, Kathira said. If you show respect and willingness to learn, they will follow you. And they may learn from you as well. Ethan nodded. He felt nervous, but also a strange thrill. He had never imagined his life would take him from polishing floors to standing among alien warriors, learning their ways, and shaping events that could ripple across the galaxy. As they walked down the corridor toward the training hall, Ethan realized one thing. The bond was no longer about armor, rituals, or tradition. It was about trust. And he was ready, maybe not fully prepared, but willing to try. Kathira glanced at him. Remember, human, the oath is not about strength. It is about respect, honesty, and courage. Even small actions can carry weight across worlds. Ethan smiled. I'll try to remember that. She allowed a brief nod of approval. Together they stepped into the hall where the other Kalthuran warriors waited, their eyes glowing faint blue. And in that moment, Ethan felt the first real connection between humans and a people far older, far wiser, and far stronger than he had ever imagined. The journey had only begun. The training hall was vast, with walls of polished silver and floors that reflected the soft blue glow of hovering lights. Ethan's eyes widened as he looked around. Rows of Kalthuran warriors stood at attention, each one clad in shining armor similar to Kathira's but less worn. Their glowing eyes scanned him carefully, curious, skeptical, and cautious all at once. Kathira walked beside him, her posture perfect and calm. These are my warriors, she said. Today you observe. Tomorrow you begin learning their methods. Pay attention. Everything matters. Ethan nodded, trying to steady his nerves. He had never been part of anything like this before. At school, he had studied history and technology, but he had never faced a room full of beings who could crush him without effort. Here he was small and weak by comparison. Yet Kathira had told him that humans often saw solutions others missed. He hoped she was right. The warriors began a series of drills. They moved with precise timing, passing holographic training weapons in coordinated patterns. Their motions were fluid, almost dance-like, yet clearly designed for combat. Ethan noticed subtle shifts in their stances. A slight tilt of the foot, a flick of the wrist, a subtle hum in their breathing. Each movement had a meaning, a reason. Kathira turned to him. Notice the patterns. Predict the sequence. Humans can sometimes see the gaps that trained warriors overlook. Ethan squinted, watching carefully. Like spotting weak points? Yes. or finding moments where improvisation is better than strict form. After several cycles, Kathira handed him a small holographic tablet. Here, you will guide a simulated unit through defense maneuvers. Observe and direct. You are responsible for their safety. Ethan's hand shook slightly as he took the device. The holographic battlefield appeared before him, a squad of warriors guarding a small outpost under attack. Alien ships glowed red in the distance, moving quickly toward the defenders. Kathira's eyes met his. Do not overthink. Humans act differently. Sometimes that is enough. He studied the scene. The warriors moved in precise lines, but there were small gaps. Using the tablet, he directed a uni. The next morning, Lyra Station's corridors felt different to Ethan. He had walked them countless times as a maintenance worker, but now each hum of machinery, each flicker of light, reminded him that the station was a nexus of galactic politics, and he, a human, was about to play a part in it. Kathira met him outside her quarters, her silver skin glinting under the soft lights. Today you will see why training matters, she said. Our rivals have seized a nearby outpost. Their intentions are not honorable, and the Council requires action. You will accompany me. Observe, learn, and act if necessary. Ethan swallowed hard. His stomach churned, a mix of excitement and fear. I'll do my best, he said, trying to sound confident. Kathira gave a faint nod. That is all I ask. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to act despite it. They boarded a sleek Kelthiran ship. The cockpit glowed with soft blue lights, and holographic displays floated in midair. Kathira took the pilot's seat while Ethan stood behind, absorbing every detail of the control panels, switches, and readouts. He noticed small differences in their navigation protocols, subtle but important. The journey to the captured outpost was quiet. Ethan studied Kathira's methodical control of the ship, noting her patience and efficiency. When they arrived, he could see the enemy forces, a small fleet of sleek ships, their red hulls glinting menacingly. The outpost's shields flickered under heavy fire. Kathira turned to him. Observe first. Understand the situation. Then act. Ethan watched closely. He noticed a pattern in the enemy ship's movements. They favored attacking from the right side, leaving a small blind spot near the top. His mind raced. He had learned to spot gaps in patterns during training, and now it mattered more than ever. Kathira, he said, pointing. Their left flank is weaker. If we move a few ships to that position, we could force them back without heavy damage. She studied him for a moment. Interesting. Your observation is correct. Are you certain of your proposal? Ethan nodded. I think so. At least it gives us an advantage without a frontal assault. Kathira's lips curved faintly. Then do it. I trust your judgment. She activated the communication link to the outpost defenders. Ethan relayed precise instructions, directing ships and shielding weak points. The Kelthiran warriors followed his lead, moving efficiently into the blind spot. The enemy attacks faltered, giving the defenders a chance to regroup. Kathira glanced at him. Well done. Humans think differently, and sometimes that is enough to turn the tide. Ethan felt a surge of pride but knew the mission was far from over. The enemy fleet was still large and unpredictable. Kathira signaled him to focus on the next challenge. Infiltration. We must board their command ship, she said. Destroy their control systems to stop further attacks. You will accompany me. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Boarding an enemy ship sounded dangerous. Are you sure I should go? You will follow my lead, Kathira said. Trust your training and your instincts. That is enough. They suited up and entered a small shuttle. The approach to the enemy ship was tense. Red alert lights flashed and faint alarms echoed through the metal corridors. Ethan gripped his seat, recalling every lesson Kathira had taught him. Observe first. Act second. Trust your mind. The shuttle docked and the doors opened. Kathira led the way, silent and deliberate. Ethan followed, scanning every corner, noting patterns of movement and sound. They avoided patrols, slipping through shadows and vents. At one point, an enemy soldier rounded a corner. Kathira froze and gestured. Ethan held his breath. The soldier passed unaware of their presence. Ethan's heart raced, but he remembered Kathira's words. Courage is acting despite fear. Finally, they reached the control room. Ethan saw rows of consoles and glowing panels. Enemy officers were issuing commands, unaware of the intruders behind them. Kathira turned to him. Your task, disable the primary communication console. Use the method I taught you during training. Ethan approached the panel, hands steady despite the pounding of his heart. He followed the steps Kathira had shown him, pressing sequences, rerouting power flows, and overriding safety locks. The console flickered and died. A silent alarm went off, but the damage was done. The enemy fleet could no longer coordinate. Kathira moved swiftly, securing the room. She glanced at Ethan. Well done. Your actions may have saved many lives today. Not through strength, but through observation and cleverness. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. I did it? You did, Kathira confirmed. And the warriors are noticing. You are no longer just a human outsider. You are part of this bond. The enemy began to react, but Kathira had already prepared their exit. Ethan followed her through vents and corridors, his mind racing with adrenaline. Every movement mattered, every decision could make a difference. And for the first time, he felt confident in his abilities. As they returned to their shuttle, Kathira placed a hand on his shoulder. Today you proved yourself not by fighting, but by thinking. That is the human way, and it can be powerful. Ethan nodded, exhausted but exhilarated. I never imagined I could do something like this. Kathira's eyes gleamed. Most do not. That is why humans are underestimated. Your uniqueness is your strength. Back on the ship, Ethan watched the enemy retreat. The outpost was safe and the council would be pleased. He realized that a simple act, noticing patterns, thinking creatively, had changed the outcome. Kathira stood beside him, silent for a moment, then said, Tomorrow, you meet the council. They will question you, test you, but if you act as you did today, they will see the value humans can bring. Ethan felt a mix of pride and nervousness. He had survived his first real mission alongside Kathira, and it had gone better than he could have imagined. Yet he knew the council would be a different challenge, one that required not only cleverness but diplomacy and courage. That night, Ethan sat alone in his quarters, reflecting on the day. He remembered the fear, the tension, and the moment he had successfully disabled the enemy console. He realized something important. Humans may not be the strongest physically, but they had ingenuity, creativity, and the courage to act under pressure. And sometimes, that was more valuable than sheer strength. As he drifted to sleep, he thought about the oath, Kathira, and the bond they were forming. What had started as a simple mistake, cleaning her armor, had grown into an adventure that might change the future of humans and Calthyrans alike. Ethan smiled. Tomorrow he would face the council, but for now he allowed himself a rare moment of pride. He had survived the first test, and he had done it the human way. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but for the first time, Ethan felt that he could make a difference. The council chamber of Lyra Station was vast, circular, and intimidating. Towering pillars glowed faintly with silver light, and banners of every allied species hung along the walls. Ethan's heart pounded as Kathira led him through the entrance. Every step echoed loudly, reminding him that all eyes would be on him soon. Kathira's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. Remember what you have learned, she said softly. Observe, act honestly, and show respect. That is all you need. Ethan nodded, trying to steady his nerves. He had faced simulations, enemy ships, and infiltration missions, but nothing compared to this. Here the decision-makers of multiple species would judge him, and by extension, humanity. Inside, the council was already seated. Tall figures with glowing eyes, ornate robes, and intricate insignia regarded him curiously. Some whispered to each other, others sat in silence. Kathira's voice echoed through the chamber. Honored council members, she began. This human, Ethan Cole, is under my protection. He has inadvertently invoked the oath of comradeship by touching my armor. I vouch for his actions and his intent. Ethan felt every eye turn toward him. He swallowed hard, remembering Kathira's lessons. Respect, honesty, courage. One of the council members, a tall Calthyran with deep blue eyes, spoke first. A human? You claim he has invoked the oath? Kathira nodded. Yes, and he has demonstrated understanding beyond expectation. Observe his actions and decide for yourselves. Ethan stepped forward, his hands clasped in front of him. He kept his voice steady. Honored council members, he began. I did not intend to invoke the oath. I only wanted to clean Kathira's armor. But I understand now that my actions carry meaning beyond what I imagined. I am ready to learn, to observe, and to act in accordance with your ways. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some council members leaned forward, studying him intently. One of them asked, "And what makes you think you are capable of honoring such an oath?" "Humans are inexperienced in our ways." Ethan took a deep breath. "I may be inexperienced, but I act with honesty and careful thought. I have observed Kathira's warriors, learned their methods, and participated in missions to protect others. I am not the strongest, but I think I notice patterns and I act with responsibility. That is how I can honor the oath." Silence followed. Ethan could feel the weight of every gaze upon him. He glanced at Kathira. She gave a subtle nod, encouraging him to continue. One council member, an elder with silver ridges on his face, spoke slowly. "Very well, human. Actions, not words, will determine your place. You have assisted in the defense of our outpost and demonstrated strategy. That is evidence of capability. Yet there remains the question of trust. Can you act in danger without hesitation?